for change is a common theme also throughout human history. And I even think that the Japanese has a saying that goes that, great danger also brings great opportunity, or we can turn that around. Great opportunity also means great danger in that sense. And so in that regard, I always feel when things are kind of, I guess, depressing in a way, if we talk about it in context of the economic debacle that is going on, I don't see it as a as a negative thing. Actually, I see it again as opportunity for things to actually reform or change or go in a better direction. Hopefully they do, of course, but that means that people also have to be aware of where they're taking the system. But that's beside the point. What I'm saying is that we shouldn't feel down because of tragedy or things like that. It's an opportunity. That's what it is.
Well, I see it very simply. I see that mankind has been allowed basically to come to sort of like the epitome of its own destruction. It's been allowed to happen for us to simply understand that we're pretty rubbish at organising anything. Okay, when we try to control things, we don't do a very good job of it. We don't, and I look back at history now with different eyes because I wasn't there. So I don't know what I'm reading is true. I don't know what I'm being told is true. I only take from history what I sort of look at it completely. I looked at Magna Carta. Mm-hmm. Magna Carta is probably one of the most famous documents in the history of this country, if not the world. It gave the world tribal jury. It gave the world amazing values. But the point was Magna Carta was not right for us. It was right for the socially dominant. I now look at Magna Carta as not common law, because it's actually, although the values mirror common law, and common law was built from religious values, and a lot of people don't realise that. That's why a lot of that sort of commercial redemption and a lot of the way, a lot of the individuals who talk about law actually come from a very biblical sort of way on.
That's right, yeah.
But the real actual law is very simple. You just never cause harm or loss, and you don't need anything else. There's nothing else. It covers all eventualities.
Mm-hmm.
The point is with the legal system, I suppose, more than anything, and this is what I saw in Magna Carta, is that you can drive a bus through their arguments. You can drive a bus through it because they're so wide. All their arguments are so wide. And that's because they all it's about, it revolves around money. That's all it revolves around. There is nothing else. It just revolves around money. Well, when I looked at Magna Carta and I started to break down the language it was wrote in, it's actually a legal document, which means it's not in law, because there's nothing legal that's in law. Legal and lawful are completely different things.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different things, miles apart from each other. So I suddenly realised that Magna Carta was wrote for the barons. Now, the barons were the socially dominant at that time. And then what they did is they put a little bit in it. There were 69 articles, and then it was made into a statute in 1297. Whereas Magna Carta was originally wrote in 1215, then 16, then 17, then 25, then 97. The Statute of 97 was the first official statute on the statute roll of England. When you look at the statute's just policy, because all statutes are just policy. They're not law. And that this was basically sort of like the start of the creation of the person in law. So you had the persons, which were the barons and the socially dominant. Then you had the things. That's what us. We were the serfs. We were slaves. We were also classed as subjects. Now, subjects are subject to the rule of something, which generally is if you live under a king, queen, government, or any form of system that controls you, then basically you're in slavery. It's master-slave syndrome, which is biblical, because when you look at any religion in the world, the first thing you're asked to is to become subservient to something. You're being told what that is. You're not allowed to discover it yourself.
Yeah.
So a man saying to you, it's this, it's called that, and you've got to do this to worship it. So when I looked at Magna Carta, I suddenly realised that there was something that was called public statutes and private statutes. And when I talked about earlier about the legal status and legal character, when they go up the line, they go away from these public statutes, which control the rest of society, and they're allowed to use these private statutes, which is Magna Carta is one of them. Now, I kind of got evidence of this because I recently had a talk with a chief inspector from the police and Hertfordshire Constabulary, and I had a long conversation. Well, not exceptionally long, but it was a very interesting conversation because I basically told him I knew the score, I knew the game, and I got him to overrule statutory legislation, statute law, and go back to the private statute, which he would call common law because he doesn't realise what it is. But I got him to do that. Now, the reason they do that is because if they didn't do it, they would have to admit that that law maintained that we would always be slaves. And if he denies me the use of it, then he would have to admit, well, that law wasn't wrote for you, it was only wrote for us. And when you look at the police service in the United Kingdom, you've basically got police officers who walk the streets who are basically, how can I say, I don't know how to put this politely, useful idiots is the best way, because they don't know what they're doing, they don't even know the law. We've got video evidence of these, they don't even know, they try and enforce things that don't exist. And then you've got a manager. Now, the chief inspector is basically a manager. Now, the difference between a policeman and a police officer, or a policeman or woman and a police officer, is simple. A policeman or woman are there to uphold the common law values, which is the private statute. They are there never to deny or delay right or justice to any individual. They're there to uphold the common law of harm and loss. They are there to make sure that no one in this land is ever denied right or justice. Now, the police officer is a completely different thing. It's like a persona they put on. It's the person again. And basically, they are there as corporate enforcement policy agents, because when you look at the word police, it actually comes from the word policy. So you'll talk, policy of a corporation. So when I looked into the United Kingdom, I found the United Kingdom Corporation Limited. So it's a company. And I couldn't believe this. Someone actually told me, and I went and looked it up myself, and I actually found it. Then, recently, someone has given us some information regarding the United Kingdom Corporation Limited being talked about in the Lords. So they do talk about it. They talk about it. So, it's not something that's fallacy. It actually exists. So that means we live in a corporation. And now I looked at all the police, and the police are corporations. Then I looked at the Ministry of Justice. That's a corporation, and it actually trades in the name of our magistrates' courts. So basically, the magistrates' courts are corporate courts that are trading names of the Ministry of Justice that actually has a county court judgment registered against it. It's been caught up by its own system. Couldn't understand that at first. Then I suddenly realised that if it's created this system, then it has to live by it. And all of a sudden, it dawned on me. What dawned on me more than anything, a bit of realisation, I suppose, is this. They've made a system that's trapped them. Their own system is trapping them because it's like a fire. Yeah. And it's consuming everything around it. But the point is, with a fire, when it's consumed everything, there's only one thing left to consume.
Itself.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's what's happening. That's why I believe we're seeing what we're seeing the world over. It's consuming itself. Yeah. And when a ship, one of the things that's happening as well, which we've noticed, is when a ship sinks, the rats flee. The first thing that flees a sinking ship is the rats, and the rats squeal. And that's exactly what's happening. They're squealing, and they're starting to tell tales, and they're starting to tell things, and this is happening. We're actually seeing this happening. Now, recently, I don't know if you know, but in the UK, they've talked about a summer of discontent.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, riots and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's marketing. They're basically marketing something. So what they do is they market something, and then they use. I was talking to a friend of mine, David, and he told me about this. It's called tracking. They do market tracking. So what they do is they market something, they set it out, and then they track it to see what sort of response it got. And this is basically a corporation that's marketing something. They're trying to
create.
They want civil disobedience.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's the first thing I thought about when I saw the news story. I put one up on our website of it also as well. And the first thing I thought about is that this is only going to create more riot. And that's what they want then. This is what they're advertising, just as you say, John. It's really, really incredible. Why do you think they want to do this then? Why do they want to crash their own system, or is there some other purpose for this?
No, it's just it'll be a total lockdown. That's what they're after. They need to lock everything down now. It's got to the stage where people are naturally realise there's something wrong. They don't know what, and most people don't know what it is, but they know there's something wrong. And I believe that is because one of the things that human beings are very, very don't like, they might accept it for a while, is change, and then all of a sudden they want to slip back into the comfort zone. Human beings naturally do that. Well, that's absolutely fine. So there is this worldwide, if you want to call it, awareness that there's something wrong, and it doesn't matter who you talk to. You know, I mean, I approach people in very different ways. I basically say to most people, you know, I feel there's something very wrong with our country, and that's it. And I allow them to approach me with whatever they want to come back with.
Yeah.
I don't try and. I used to try and do the old trick of force everything down people's throats, but what you actually do is sometimes you actually do the opposite of what you're trying to do, because they turn off. You can see it. You watch it. You can actually see them shut down.
Yep.
It's like shut a door, comes down behind the eyes, and that's it. Job done. You know.
I know. I've seen it many times.
Yeah. But if you, and that shut a door is actually very important. And I will sort of, I kind of see that as something very important, that shut a door as well. Because anyway, what they've done is they need this summer of discontent. They need people on the streets, and they will create it. They will create. We have evidence that there was a demonstration, and there was non-uniformed police officers started on police officers.
Are you thinking about the one that took place up in Canada, the SPP or something like that?
Yeah, there's been quite a few incidents, but recently this has been brought to my attention about this incident that happened, and it was actually they knew they were police officers. Yeah. They were obviously not in uniform, and they attacked their own officers to create the problem. Yeah. Right. What I started 22nd of March last year was I went down to Buckingham Palace actually and served papers on the Queen. I served affidavits on her to say I've had enough. You got 40 days to sort this out. It was under Article 61 of Magna Carta. Now, nothing in this world is going to be sorted out by more bits of paper. Okay, so all it was bits of paper. But what it did do was actually allow for the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and the Queen to understand that there is, at least at that time, one individual who's basically had enough and is basically saying, I'm not having anything more to do with this. Yeah. I'm removed myself from it. You crack on, but I'm nothing to do with this anymore.
Hey, John, I think that's a good thing I want to touch more upon this idea of how you work with the system, and if you have to, take yourself out of it in order to affect it, or if you have to still stay in the system in order to change it. I want to talk more about that, but I think we should maybe take a little break here, John, and then continue talking.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Talking a little bit more in our member section for our subscribers, and then I want to talk more about your visit, obviously, to Buckingham Palace, and tie this together with the Holy See. I want to talk also a little bit more about the root system. We call it the mother system of the British and so forth. So I'm really looking forward to spending a bit more time here with you in our member section. But why don't we round things off here for this segment, so you can tell us about your website, if there's any videos out there that you want to suggest people to go watch, or links or sources or what have you. So the last couple of minutes here in this segment are all yours, John.
Okay. Well, basically, the only real thing I want to say to people is the People's United community is basically an information. It's like a hub of information. So what we ask people to do is come to us with information. It doesn't matter what it's about. If you bring the information to us, what we do is we look at the information and we start to unravel it. We look at it very simple. I'm very simple, and I mean that I really do. I am simple. I don't look at anything complicated and see complicated. I only see simple. And everything that's complicated in the world has a very simple foundation. And all I look for is